All right, it is 1 o'clock here in Eastern Time. It's time to get started. Hello and welcome to the Alpha Anywhere demo and Q&A. I'm Dave McCormick, here today with Dion McCormick, no relation, who's our lead solutions engineer. Today, Dion will probably be making me do the work, I believe, and demonstrating an application, but then we will be here to take your questions. So you can go ahead and start entering your questions now into the questions section of the GoToWebinar control panel. So let's begin. Hello, Dion, are you there?
Yes, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. It's kind of a freaky Friday. Let's call it Freaky Wednesday, switching roles.
I know, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody. I know it's getting into summer, lots of kids' activities and schedule changes, so we really appreciate you taking the time out to come and visit with us. And as Dave mentioned, very important is those questions. So if you have a moment, please go to your GoToWebinar control panel and enter in your questions. And remember, during the week, you can be providing us questions ahead of time at guides, G-U-I-D-E-S, at alphasoftware.com. That allows us to get ready and prepped and deliver things that you might need that may take a little more time than just off the cuff during our meeting here. Before we get started, a couple quick announcements, some very exciting stuff. The agenda for today is we're going to be talking about a new upcoming release and an event coming up. They'll give you all the details on the new capabilities, a little bit more details on specifically one of those. And then also, we have a new reference app that's coming out that Dave's actually going to spend a few minutes talking about. So we have some cool information for you today. But in the meantime, if you've got questions, get them in there. We'll be obviously making sure we try to answer any and all questions to the best of our abilities. And if we're not, we can always follow up and do it post the webinar. So with that, wanted to go ahead and go down and talk about some really exciting information. There's a new release out. It's for all current subscribers. They can download and start using it. It includes 2 new features that are involved here. And so we're going to talk briefly about those. Our goal is not to demonstrate the full capability today because we will have a dedicated session coming up next week, which I'll talk about in a few moments. So what are those features? Well, feature number 1 is improved HTML reporting. And this one is very, very, very exciting for me since reporting is critical to every element. I'm going to talk a little bit more about, I want to kind of give a little background on this, but the neat thing about this is that before you had to use what were called table layout reports, which are effective and good, but a little bit harder to put together than what we call the freeform reports. And I'm going to spend a few moments showing you, kind of reminding you the difference between the two. But the cool thing is now you can use our freeform reports to generate HTML. So this is incredibly powerful. It's going to allow you to create reports faster, simpler, with more function and features and capabilities. And especially if you've been doing reporting in the past, you'll be able to leverage a lot more of those skills and capabilities in it. So this is really, I love this one because I do a lot of reporting in my applications. And the ability to use freeform reports now with the HTML is hugely powerful, especially given the fact that more and more people are moving mobile, need to be able to render and display these reports on the local device so that it looks gorgeous without having to worry about PDFs and other formats that can be problematic on some of these devices. So improved HTML reporting is here. Doesn't require any special plugins, uses a lot of the built-in capability, and we're going to be actually showing you more about that. The other key feature that's coming out is video recording in disconnected applications. This is also really, really powerful. We've already had the ability for you to record photos or extract photos from the camera roll, and then using a PhoneGap app to be able to disconnect it, associate that information, and then have the system automatically upload that media content. And the forms we've had so far have been photos and voice, so you can take like voice notes and attach them to your records and get them up there. And now added to that is video recording. So now we have essentially all 3, photo, vocal or video, voice and video. And this is really powerful, especially for field inspection apps, because you may have a situation where a photo is worth 1,000 words, but a video could be worth a lot more, especially if you have a process that you need to document that isn't readily documentable from a photo. Say, for instance, you're out in the field and there's a pump that's working a certain way and you're seeing something happen. Well, you can take a snapshot, but maybe it's what happens over time. The pump speeds up, slows down, or has hiccups or something along those lines. So now with your applications, you can merely go ahead, acquire the video using the mobile device, tag that video and associate it, and then Alpha, either to your native file system or to Amazon S3, will upload that photo or video content along with your metadata and other collected data, and that now is available on other mobile devices in your back office there. So video recording is very, very powerful. It's, you know, again, you can shoot a quick short video that can explain a lot more than a picture with a whole bunch of description text around it, especially if you have language issues or barriers. You know, maybe you have a technician out in the field. We do a lot of work with people all around the world, and maybe their English isn't very strong, or there's a language difference between the people in the field and the people in the office. Well, hey, a video is really simple there. So we're very excited about being able to expand the platform to handle not only photo and audio, but now also video. Now, this is all good, but I want to let you know that we're going to have a dedicated demonstration webinar next Thursday, June 23rd, and Dave, verify I haven't screwed anything up here, at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and there will be an announcement going out on there, but mark your calendars. So this is a dedicated session. It's going to be actually delivered by Mr. Selwyn Ravens, who is going to walk you through both of these capabilities, how they're used, how they're implemented, and some examples around that. So if you're interested in these two features and capabilities, reporting or the video capture, next week is your week. You're really going to enjoy that, and it's going to be a very, very powerful session that we go to, or that, you know, it's going to get you up and running. And again, it's in the current release, so if you're a subscriber, you can download and start implementing these capabilities immediately, and we'll have both the session and training coming along shortly. Now, I want to hand it over to David.
Sorry to interrupt there.
I'm sorry, did I miss
I have just a quick update about Thursday's demonstration. Yes, you're absolutely right. That's who will give it. That's what they'll be discussing. But I have the registration link. And you guys are the first people to see it. I just put it in the chat window. It says, demo a week from tomorrow on new features presented by Selwyn Ravens. So if you just click in the chat window, there is the link right there. We'll email it out as well, but if you want it ahead of time, you'll be the first.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'd like to see as many people there because it gives them a jump on implementing these capabilities. Again, I'm going to turn it over to Dave in about 5 more minutes. So, Dave, I know you're chomping at the bit to talk about your aspects, but I wanted to go back real quick just to set the stage. And, you know, for people who haven't done a lot of reporting, I kind of wanted to give a real quick view of why this is so important. So it'll only take about 5 minutes, but I think it will set the groundwork for the future, and plus educate people on the different type of reporting. So when you're in the alpha development environment, and this is the alpha development environment for people who are new, I'm on the Web Projects Control Panel. You'll notice the different type of things, and I've now clicked on the reporting capability. And again, Alpha has an extremely rich, powerful, and capable reporting system that has been nurtured and developed over years and years and years, ever since the beginning to now. And when you created a new report, you had 2 options. So let me go ahead and walk you through that. So when I click on reports here, it shows all my existing reports, and then I can click new. You have the ability to say what is the source for your report. Most often it's going to be a SQL data source, either a view or a table or something along those lines. Remember, which is very, very powerful, is we also have what's called a custom data source, wherein you can actually call a function to populate the information for the report, passive parameters. So a great example of that is, let's say you had a web API that you were calling, like, you know, today's weather, and you want to include that weather information in your report. You could actually literally write a little function that would call out to a web API, grab the weather information or stock information, whatever it happens to be, provide that up, that you could then build a report off of. So very powerful. I've used that on a couple different projects, and it's just it's made life so much simpler because it's easy to write a little routine versus having to create data tables and dedicated tables and populate them and do a whole bunch of gyrations just to get there. So I'm going to use today, though, I'm going to talk about SQL data source. You actually have 3 methods. You can start with a quick report. You can start from a blank free-form report, or a blank layout table report. And this is the key, is that the layout table report was focused and dedicated for mobile. It renders HTML. Freeform report really renders into a PDF. You run it through a processor that does that. Well, the cool thing now is that the freeform report, you're going to have the option to then actually translate that into something that can be run and do HTML, so you don't need the PDF. To show you a little difference there, I'm just going to start with a quick report. And I'm going to go ahead and select my source of data. So I'm going to click connection. I'm in the Northwinds database, so I'm just going to click, say, customers here, all customers, and say finish. So I basically looked at my table there, and I'm creating a report there. So you'll notice that the quick report builder is a very simplistic report setup. You've got the customer information here. These are the columns in your table here. I can group things, say, by company name. So actually, let me go ahead and remove that, so I don't need that. And we'll make this a phone directory. You can go in here to, say, report settings and say, give it a title. And, this is a great way to start. If you're just getting into reporting, start with a quick report. Your life will be simpler there, even though it has full powers of phone list of like calculated fields and things like that. I click preview, then I have now a report here. Very straightforward, very simple kind of report. And you can add things in like parameters, etc. So I just create this just to start the process. But now if I really want to tailor this thing, where I want to really take control over doing how the report represents, I'm going to do the following. I'm going to say open in report editor. So I've got a report that kind of looks like what I want here. It's got phone list, it's got the company name, etc. And you'll see if we go down a little bit farther, it actually, will put multiple people on there. So now I'm going to go ahead and go into report editor. Now, I'm going to start with the layout table report, and what I'm going to do is open a copy of this report. So remember, there's two major types of reports that are available. One is called layout table, and that's focused on the HTML. It generates HTML that really works well on mobile platforms. The other is called a freeform report, which was more dedicated for desktop and web desktop, and outputs as PDF within there. So for now, let me go ahead and click Layout Table Report. So I'm going to open this in the report. I'm going to open a copy of this in the report. And I'll call this Customers Table Layout Report. Okay, so now it's opened up my report builder. It looks a lot like the freeform one here, but you'll notice that it takes a certain kind of thing. That everything is, think of them as HTML tables. So you have the different table items here, and it's translated in my quick report. If we look at our quick report here, and go all the way to the top here, you'll just have your header and then your thing. So here you have a header, here you have the group for company name, and then you have those pieces here. And you can modify this. You can click here and say, for instance, add a new column, and it adds another set of table boxes, sort of a grid setup. And you can click on here and say, okay, I'm going to edit the cell content here, and I'm going to put in there another field, say, let's put the country code there. And so I edit it by going through here. Oh, actually, let me modify that. I actually want that to be country. That's the header. And down here, you can have, let's add the cell content here and put in the field country. So easy to do. And now that I've got that, I have a nice looking report. You'll notice now I've added there. And if I want to adjust the sizing and everything else, I kind of adjust these columns, move them back and forth, adjust them accordingly how I want to. And I have a lot of power. In each of these cells, I can put fields, I can put an expression, I could put static images, static HTML, really, really a whole other report, a chart, etc. Very straightforward. But what I found is that compared to traditional reporting environments such as Crystal reports and stuff, after it gets to a certain level of complexity, managing it in the cell tail just becomes a little more cumbersome. And again, works great, produces fabulous results, but sometimes is a little bit more difficult to work with. So, but hey, if you're going for a mobile device, HTML, you really wanted to use this report format. But now with this new feature capability, which you're going to see more details now, we can use what's called a freeform report. So let me go ahead and click. I'm going back to my quick report. I'm going to open in quick report, freeform report, and I'm going to open a copy, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to copy that just like I did, but instead of table layout report, I'm going to go for a freeform report, and I'm going to click save, and now it's generated. Now, you'll see it looks a little differently. We've gotten rid of the grid structure. we still have all the same information. Like if I run this, I can see it looks exactly the same. But the methodology is a little different. So for instance, let's say we want to add that country in here. So we go down here, we find our field down here in our list, and I can just drag this over here on there and drag it. So instead of a table structure, I have a positioning structure where I can just position everything where I want it to be, etc. And so now I can go back in, and now that I've got that country in there, I can do there, and you'll notice that, hey, there's the country that showed up right there. And then I can come up here and copy this and go right here and say country. So instead of tables, it's very easy. It's drag and drop. It's positioning, has nice little positioning tools. And, I can put in there and see how a country's there. I can sit there and say, how I want this actually to be is instead of creating there, I just want to say, okay, contact title is here, phone is here, and country's right here. Then I can do a preview, and you'll notice now it has a little there. So as you can see, that was very simple. With this report right here, I'd have to go in here and say, okay, I'm going to add a new row, and then I'm going to go in here and pick that field, etc. I can achieve the same result. That's the important thing I want to describe, is I can achieve the same result, but as you can see, it's just more of an intuitive process using what's called the freeform report versus the table layout report. Now, what the cool thing is now, instead of being forced to render this as PDF, which you had to before, now you're going to have the option in the new release to say, I want to use this report, and then Alpha will take all of this, including the text, the headers, whatever's in here, and renders it as HTML for you. So I kind of see it as you get the best of both worlds. You get the most flexible, easy to use report design environment that is very intuitive, that has a lot of capability, that is less, I call it, and I don't want to be disparaging, but it's a little less cumbersome than the table layout report. So you get all that freedom and flexibility, but you get the greatness of being able to render this completely as HTML, which has two really powerful effects. Number one is that it works super well in a web environment or in there. You can embed things like links and other HTML content, so you can create like active links in your reports, etc. The other, which is super powerful, is that it's incredibly fast. With the PDF reports, there was a bit of a delay because it actually had to go back to the server, render it as a PDF, and then serve it back up. And we've also noticed that on mobile devices, how mobile devices handle PDFs change from device to device to device. They all try to be as good as possible, but there's little nuances that are different and things that just kind of don't have that slickness and feel. Whereas now, boom, it just renders as HTML. All the mobile devices are very good at bringing together. That's where they focus most of their energy, on making sure the HTML renders very correctly and accurately to industry standards. This was just to kind of set the stage. My goal was not to show you the new feature, was more to kind of give you the background of the new feature. And next Thursday, sign up now by clicking in that link, going online, getting signed up for that. You're actually going to see this in action and see the power and see the speed and see all the neat capabilities that this opens up. And again, personally, I'm very, very excited. I do a lot of reporting in my, you can see I do a lot of reports for different demonstrations, projects. Very important. Nice because you can create reports much quicker than, say, you can create a UX. So literally you could actually, if you just wanted a read-only format of something, you could create a report now and it will render it perfectly in your browser instead of having to go through and design a whole UX because there's no data interaction. So it opens up a lot of really fun things that I think you're going to enjoy as it goes forward. So this was just a quick and dirty background there. If there are questions about that, or if I went over something a little too quick, please let us know. Put your questions in the Q&A section. But again, next Thursday, we're going to be going over both the HTML reporting and also the video recording capabilities. So it should be a lot of fun there. So now with that, I wanted to turn our attention to another very exciting announcement this last week, and that's for a new reference application that has been built and guided by yours truly, Mr. Dave McCormick. I'm not going to steal his thunder other than it's a new pre-built sample app called PumpJack Pro, and has a lot of really cool features, etc., that you'll be able to take and include into your system here. So with that, Dave, if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to you at this moment and then let you take the ball and run with it, and then we'll come back for questions.
That sounds good. Let me go ahead and make myself the presenter. Share my screen, and let me pop over to Windows, and let me know when you can see my screen. Is it coming through, Dan?
Yep.
Okay.
Coming through. Yep.
So Pump Jack Pro, if you've seen Inspection Solutions, you may not be 100% wowed by Pump Jack Pro. I'm gonna be straight up honest with you about that. We built it because we needed to come up with a sample for the energy industry. But it does have some cool features, and I will go over it. And let's just begin at the beginning, which is, where do you get it? So you can find this at our GitHub repository. That's github.com/alphaanywhere. Under here, you want to go to repositories. You'll see popular repositories. Sometimes people say, oh, is that all you have? But actually, we have a lot more. And you'll see right here, Pump Jack Pro is the first one. So you just basically click on this. You click on clone or download, which I've already done, so I'm not going to do it again. But it's going to give you a zip file, and it's going to have everything that you need to install, all the source files that you need to get it up and running in Alpha Anywhere. So let's hop over to Alpha Anywhere and take a look at the application. So here it is on the screen. For those of you who don't know what a pump jack is, because I actually didn't know about 3 months ago, if you've ever been through driving through America, and Texas especially, Texas, you'll see these things out in fields. They look like a horse with a horse's head that bobs up and down. In fact, the front of it is literally called the horse's head. And so what they do is it's a mechanical device that's connected to a well underneath, and it pumps oil and gas out of the ground. So this inspection application is for inspecting that type of equipment. So to begin, we have a few simple fields. Just you type in the name of the location that you're at. We also have, which isn't going to work here in Working Preview, but the ability to do a GPS lookup. And if you're using a mobile device, it has it uses the phone gap features to use the device's GPS to grab the latitude and the longitude. It also has the ability to take a picture, and that gets placed right here. And then we have some different categories of questions. So let's go ahead into the first category. First category is basically a bunch of questions asking you about are the counterweights okay, or is the flywheel loose, things like that. And it's basically you tap on it with your finger. I'm doing it here with a mouse, but with your finger generally. And you can hit pass and fail. And that gets recorded into the fields here in the application. Besides that type of the pass-fail fields, we also have some gauges here. So battery voltage should be about 12. If it was more, let's say 50, which would probably be impossible, but anyway, it would rank too high. If it was too low, it ranks too low. So you can see the meter here changes when you enter in different values. In the gear reducer, do I have anything clever here? I don't think I do. Let me go to another one that has something interesting. Let's go back to structure. And in structure, where we ask you to visually inspect the unit for loose or missing bolting, we've included a torque chart. So you can just click that, and it shows you, if the nut size is this big, if it's 11 national course or 5/8 of an inch, your torque wrench should be set to 60 to 75 to make sure that it is properly secured. The other thing that we have in here is, under guideline, is we have a little video. I'll show you how I did that. There are lots of ways to do it. I did it in a pretty easy way, but here's a video right here. And that's about it. There is no back end to this. So if you want to use this for your own purposes, you'll need to connect it up to your own back end. We can obviously help you do that if you'd like. Just send an email to guides, G-U-I-D-E-S, at alphasoftware.com. We can answer that question and any other question you might have about Pump Jack Pro. Let me take you through a couple of things. What was that?
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. You're online.
Oh, okay. Let me go ahead and show off a couple of the controls and we'll start with the pass-fail buttons. Those are the simplest. I implemented those in a very simplistic way, and there is actually a better way to do it, which I will show you probably next week. If not, it'll be the week after. This isn't a bad way. It's a little bit more time-consuming. So let's take one of the buttons here. Let's take this this pass button, for example. So here I am in container CSTRA1, which is my code for, this is the question A1 of the STR, the structure section. Here I have a hidden field called STR_1. As you can see here, I think you can see here that it's hidden. You can see that it's sort of grayed out when I click off of it. That actually holds the value of the field. The initial value is neither. It's neither pass nor fail. You haven't set it to anything. But when you click on a button such as the fail button or the pass button, it's going to actually set that value to pass and to fail. And it's going to do a couple other things too. First of all, the button is going to light up. So in the case of the pass button, it's going to light up green with white text. And the fail button, if it were previously on, is going to be shut off back to its regular state. And the way we did this was by using CSS. So to begin with, this pass button I've set to a button class called pass off. Let me just show you what is involved in pass off. So I'm going to scroll down to pass off. And pass off shows you that it's black text, it's a green background. Now if I had clicked pass on, you'll see that it's now filled in with white text on a green background. And so what that button does, let me show you the script behind it, is the first thing it does is it sets the fail button to fail off. So it changes the class so that the button appears different, the other button. The next thing it does is it sets itself to pass on. So in this case, STR1 pass, which is the name of the control, we've now changed the class name, and the class name defines how it looks, and now it looks like it's been set to on. So that's just the aesthetics portion of it. And then here's sort of the meat of it, and this is where it sets the value of STR1, which is the name of our hidden field I showed you a moment ago, to pass. So that's all kept then in a list control, and you can use that list control to, actually that's just in a field. You can put that field within a list control and use that list control to do your backend syncing. The other way to do it, which I will show you later, is to use the new mobile optimized forms technology. And you'll actually be able to drive the questions off of a list rather than hand coding each question as I've done here, which is fine. It only took a minute or two for each question. So if I had 50 questions, it would take about an hour. But to drive it off of a list, you'll find that you can make changes, you can add questions, you can remove questions a lot easier than that. So I will show you an example of that, like I said, hopefully next week. If not, it will be the week after that. So that's the pass-fail buttons. Let me show you the meters real quick if I can find them. Should be able to do a search. So if I called it meter. Yeah, let's try battery. Not finding it. Although what I found with this find function, and I'd like to warn you guys about that, is that if you don't have the thing you're looking for expanded, it often is not found, which is probably not the best way to do that, but that's how it works. So just be aware of that. Let me go find that meter though, which I know is in the. Let's find the section that it's in first. And the meter was very simple to put together. I did it using a dynamic image, but I want to show you exactly where that is in case you want to use this technique for yourself. I think it was under prime mover. Yeah, okay, so it's question 6. So that is down in here. Okay, pass, fail, question 5, question 6. I think I'm in the wrong area. Here we go. Question 6. There it is. Okay, great. So this is engine RPM. It was one of the ones similar to the battery one. Basically, for question 6, all I've done is I put in an image, And that image I have set dynamically. And it's dynamically set based on what I've typed into this MOV_6 field. So let's go show you, I'm going to show you how that's set up. If I go up here where it says image type, dynamic is the type as opposed to a static image, which would always be the same image. And here's the definition. It said if the value of MOV_6 is greater than 5001, I want you to use an image called gauge high, which is a picture of the gauge with the needle pointed to the far right. If it's less than 2,999, I'm going to set it to OK. I'm sorry, if it's greater than 2,099 but less than 5,001, I'm going to set it to OK. And then the default case in which I just say 1 equals 1, that means that it's the default. So if it doesn't meet this condition or that condition, it has to meet this condition. It's going to set the gauge low. It's going to set it to gauge low, which is the image over here on the left. So that's all there is to it. These can be used for a lot of different reasons, these images. I've used it for a meter, but there are other things you can do as well. And of course, you could also use a much more sophisticated type of meter, like one that was JavaScript driven, where the needle went to an exact positioning based on what the value was. But for this, it was good enough. The next thing I'm going to show you is the video. So let me just find that one too. I've expanded everything. Next demo, I need to make sure to expand everything before I start. Okay, that's the engine. I think this one was the bridal one. Yep, number 5. Let me find the video one. Oh, I know why. The video is actually a window. That's why it's not here. And it's down over here. And all I did was I wasn't sure it was supported until I tried it, and it is, an animated GIF. So I basically took a video that I had and then converted it to an animated GIF using Camtasia. And if I click on the image name, you'll see it actually, I don't know if it's going to, it looks like it's not coming through here while I'm running GoToWebinar, so I apologize for that. Let me see if I can open up again and have it work. Here it is. Dean, is that coming through the motion of the image?
Yes, it is. It's
okay,
coming
great.
through nice and smooth.
So this is it here. You can actually use animated GIFs. There's no sound with an animated GIF, but for many reasons and for small video clips, this is perfectly fine. Doesn't take up a ton of room, and it doesn't mean that you have to start using HTML5 video or anything else like that. HTML5 video is also supported. It's another way that we could have done that, but in this case, using an animated GIF was just fine. So that's about it. Let me see in my notes if there's anything else I gotta let you guys know about. The other thing I'm not going to show you, well, I will show you real quick, is the pop-up chart. The pop-up chart was really just a container window with this image in it called, with this, actually I did a freeform container. And in the freeform container, let me grab the HTML. Here it is. I basically built out the whole table using a different piece of software, but I did it in HTML. And so this was the table that you saw that showed you all the tightnesses that you needed for all the torque values you needed for each of the bolts on the project. So that's about it. That is the tour of the whole thing. If you've looked at Inspection Pro, you'll see that which is another one that you can find here at GitHub. That one is definitely worth exploring because I have other types of controls in here. So this is just basically a smaller subset of that. But if you got the mailing this week and you saw PumpJack Pro and you wanted to know what it was all about, that's what it's all about. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Dean. All right, Dean, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Let me go ahead and make you the presenter.
All right. Dynamite. So that's PumpJack Pro. A couple things just to kind of reiterate what Dave said is that it shows how to put together pass-fail buttons, photo capture, GPS location capture, indicator meters, which are very powerful, very visual in nature, the pop-up cheat sheet video, signature capture control, and offline capability. And again, you can get that on the GitHub, and we'll continue to improve that and as Dave continues to enhance those, it's really coming together very, very nicely. One thing I wanted to note about that is that obviously Dave's doing a fabulous job of putting that together, putting together an awesome example, and we will be doing a dedicated training the day before the Alpha DevCon 2016 that's going to cover a lot of the techniques on how to put together these kind of apps. So kind of the basics on how to go through and structure and put those together, and that's coming along nicely. So I highly encourage you going to alphasoftware.com. Up in the top, you'll see the DevCon, and in there you can register for DevCon, and along with that, register for the upcoming training that's the day before. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be awesome, and you're really going to enjoy it. So that is Bump Jack Pro. And thank you very much, Dave. That was a great overview and outstanding. In fact, we had more people join because it was so interesting and so exciting that more people joined our webinar this week just because they heard through the, they felt the ether move and they wanted to get on.
More people joined than dropped out, which is always a good sign. So I actually like that our audience keeps growing over and over again. If you remember when we started doing these about a year and a half ago, we were a handful of people, and now it's, you know, if we don't get 50, we're like, wow, it was a slow day, you know. So.
I know. We're losers.
I know, exactly.
Now I know what it's like to be Taylor Swift, you know. It's like, yeah, if I don't pack that stadium, I'm a loser, and kind of do that. Speaking of, she'll be here for the, anybody interested in going to the Formula One in October, she'll be doing a concert here. So come on down to Austin. It's going to be a real fun time of year. Well, with that, Dave, I think it's time to open it up for any questions. I'm sure there's a lot on stuff, but we'll see. Always hope there is.
Let's. There are some, but absolutely, I think we're going to have time for more. So please start typing your questions into the questions box of the GoToWebinar
interface.
Speaking of the GoToWebinar interface, just a quick question. If people out there in viewer land could let me know. At least one person said they can't find the chat window in the GoToWebinar control panel, and they think maybe it's not available in the version they're running or something like that. Is anyone else either not seeing the chat window or seeing the chat window? Just let me know one way or the other. I wanna just a quick informal survey to see what's going on with that, so I can get in touch with the folks over at Citrix to see if we have an issue here. So we have
raise those hands.
Wow, it's some can and some can't. That's very interesting. So if you anyone who needs these links, please send me an email to guides, guides@alphasoftware.com. I'll make sure the links that I pasted in today make it out to you if you can't see the chat window. So all right. So with that piece of housekeeping done, I also want to make an announcement that there is a new documentation available on displaying reports in web applications, and it's related to what we talked about today. I'm going to paste the link, yes, I know, into the chat window. For those of you who can see it, then great, and if you can't, I will send it out to you if you just send it.
And also remember, you know, documentation is
it's very searchable. If you go to documentation,
two clicks away from wherever you are in the world, inside, especially in there. If you'll notice, I went to Help, clicked on Help and Documentation. It took me, opened my browser to here, and what should I search on there?
Displaying reports in web applications.
Okay, so
displaying reports.
There we go. So that kind of showed you a couple things. One is that we've now centralized, and actually I should say, Dave and his team has centralized.
And in particular, Sarah Mitchell, who's with us today.
Yes,
new documentation person.
Sarah who? Yeah, we did this. Yeah.
Who will be also presenting at the Developers Conference, may I point out. So another reason to come to the Developers Conference. You'll
so it's centralizing all documentation, the wiki, everything else is in here. It's all searchable. You know, all the old links still work. They kind of point you in here. As you can see, it has a really nice structure, including, you know, a table of contents, sort of a breadcrumb, which is kind of nice. I often do use the breadcrumb because I go, oh, there's something else I want to do in reports. I go up one level and I see all the different other things like here, printing images, how to use, etc. So very intuitive to use there.
Also,
so yeah,
this is at the bottom of each page. You're going to see a report this page, or I'm having an issue, which is just basically a simple mail to link. do use that. There's a team of at least 3 people who see that, and we often will respond and fix problems, within an hour or something like that. We look at that all the time. So don't think that your comments or suggestions are being wasted. We take them very seriously. So do use that link. We do use that.
Yep, and it automatically puts in what page you're on, so it'll know that. And you just go in here and I go, why don't we have a picture of Dave on this page?
That's an excellent point.
And of course, that one would be obviously rejected, but we're not going to reject very many.
Yeah.
Very few. But it is important because one of the key things, and I wanted to reinforce that, and thank you, Dave, for saying that, is that there's an incredible amount of effort that's going to cull and review all the decades of documentation that's out there. So you're going to see some old stuff slip in, and there's a lot of it being taken out. There's new stuff there. There may be something that's not as intuitive or doesn't make sense. That feedback is enormously powerful for the documentation team because it allows them to refine this, get rid of stuff that doesn't make sense, but more importantly is put in what really people are asking for, like, well, it didn't give me an example, or this or that, or whatever it happens to be that helps make the documentation incredibly powerful and instantly actionable by use. So we really enjoy seeing your feedback, and please, please, please just go ahead and scroll to the bottom, click here, give us, even if you like it, go ahead and say, hey, I like the way this was structured, so we know kind of what people are digging out in the documentation site. So
fantastic. Here's something you can demo quickly, I think, Dan. Someone asks,
sure.
How do I get, you've been talking about this version 4.2, how do I get version 4.2?
Oh, good point, good point. And again,
yep.
Help check for a new version. Let's see, I think it's view release notes here. Okay, so in the development environment, I go to the Web Projects Control Panel, I go to the Help menu item, and then we have obviously the view release notes. I click there. It will open up a web browser with the latest release notes. Okay, so this is the current release notes here. So this is what's kind of in the official last release. And so in here is a lot of documentation, including videos and descriptions of all the bug fixes and everything else. A lot of really good stuff in here in terms of what that is. But you'll notice right here that we have a section called pre-release build. And this is talking about the pre-release build. So if it happens to be a pre-release, and I'm not sure, Dave, is this in the official?
It is. 4.2 is officially released. So
okay, so it wouldn't be in the pre-release. Sometimes it's pre-release from there. So what I can actually do is I can go to Help, check for new version here, and I should be.
You have a more recent version is available.
Yep.
It's time to upgrade.
Yeah, see, I'm still on the 4.662. I think that's the official 4.1, and this is low there. And therefore, then in this case, if I wanted to upgrade, I just have to click on this button right here called Download Patches. When I download that, it's going to take me right to the download page. And at this point, I will now see the main download servers. And what I can click is the one thing I want to download. There are alternative ones there. One thing that's really important is that there's two types of things. There's the patches. These are the patches where it's going to apply a differential between the what version you have and what version you're going to, or it doesn't update like that. There's also the full install. So if you want to do a full install where it just assumes there's nothing on your drive and does that, you can do that. You do not need to download the full install if you already have it running on your system. Now this is super, super important. Probably the most important thing I'm going to say today, this week, this month, this year is that when you download, remember you need to keep your development environment, which in this case would be Alpha Anywhere Update, and your application server in sync. So if you are, so when you upload or when you download and implement your development server, you don't have to do a development machine. You don't have to do the application server immediately, but the moment you publish from the development machine to the app server, they need to be in sync. If they're out of sync, you're going to see weird errors and problems, and it's just not going to seem like it works. They have to stay because new features have certain things the server needs to do. So I always, as a practice, is that when I go to do an update, I click on all the items I need. In this case, if it's there, if you're doing a runtime, IIS, I download these into a folder and I name it whatever the particular release, in this case is 3670, 4684. And the reason I do that is that then I always have those available, so they're on my system. So if I ever have to go back to a release, I already have the install files ready to go and on my system. And so again, very important is always make sure when you update your development system, if you're going to publish to your application server, you do the update at the same time so that they are in sync. It doesn't mean you have to, because if you're just doing development stuff on your local machine, but you're really not publishing and you're more experimenting and checking out the new stuff, feel free. But the moment you hit publish to your server better be in sync, or else you're going to see a lot of weird stuff. And I've had that happen. This was a couple years ago, and I wasted a lot of time because I just made that very simple mistake, and things were just not running correctly. And then I finally went through and did a restall and everything worked perfectly. So a little lesson: don't waste time. Download it all, have it ready, and store it so it's available. So long-winded, but what you do is you go to help, check for new version. It's going to look at your version. If you have a difference, it's going to give you this. You click on download patches, takes you here. Download all of the versions you're going to need, so you have so everything can be in sync, and then obviously update as you need for the different pieces: the server, your local machine, your runtime, IIS, however it happens to go. So that's a quick and dirty how to go ahead and get the latest and greatest official release. And again, same thing with pre-releases. If I download a pre-release, I always download in, we haven't needed pre-releases. The new methodology is kind of nice. They're more smaller point releases, and what happens is all those pre-releases get rolled into the next release, so that's working. But sometimes I've had an emergency where there's been a bug fix that I need to have. I'll again download all the pre-releases into a folder, do all my updates so everything's in sync, and then I'm good to go. And I keep that for history, because if I do a new update and for some reason, who knows, I need to go back, I always have my installs available for the previous releases, so I can kind of reset all of my environments very quickly and get up to speed. So that's a couple words to the wise, but also hopefully answered the question that was posed by the person. Thank you very much. We love those.
Thanks, Dan. A couple of report questions.
Good.
Is what's the difference between creating a report in the Web Projects Control Panel versus the regular desktop control panel? And can web apps use previously created desktop reports?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, a couple notes on this. First is that a little bit of history is that the original only control panel that existed was this control panel. The Web Projects Control Panel was added V10, which are V9, to do that. And so you'll notice in the control panel you have reports here. Now I don't have any reports. I could create a report right here, and again uses a similar kind of function capability. But the important thing about the reports that are in the control panel is that they are not individual separate external files. They are actually built into the Alpha database. So it's originally when Alpha was, everything was in the database itself. When you created these reports, you would actually be creating them inside the database, which makes management and update and things along those. When they brought out the updated web control panel and the new reporting, two things happened. One is now that these are individual files that are on your hard drive, so they're treated like any other content within your system. They added, again, the table layout report. If you do a control panel here, it's really just more the traditional versus there. But there is a function that allows you to take a report that was done in the traditional control panel report area, and you can click on a report, and I don't know if it's up here. Let's do something here. Let's just say, yeah, see, it's just going to put it in the other one there. But if you have reports here, you can right-click on the report. I don't have one here. And you can convert it from the traditional older control they call it really the desktop report area, into an item here. So they have a migration path for people who have already created reports there. But for people who are starting, ignore the control panel. Do all your work inside of the Web Projects Control Panel, because then you're at the most release, etc., and those pieces there. For individuals that have created reports and have traditional applications they're migrating, those reports are here, And again, you can right-click on it, and there's a methodology in which you can move that report into a web project kind of report and then continue. And it maintains all the history, etc. The other thing that's kind of cool too is that you can actually convert these also directly into table layout reports, which was very important before, because if you want an HTML version of a report, you had to go table layout. Now you can just go freeform, and with the new technology, you can just go freeform and then use freeform as your HTML output, which I think will really be where most people will spend their time because it's the easiest and simplest there. So again, traditionally the control panel here is for the original Alpha software, Alpha 4, Alpha 5, and that was focused around desktop applications. The reports were built into the database, meaning that they weren't separate files. They were actually defined and included into the database there. That makes updates, like for instance, when I go to publish this, let me see if I can do a publish here. If you use the old control panels, you had to publish the workspace library because it actually had to not only publish, it had to publish a new version of your database core file. But now these are all individual files, and so when you do a publish, you can literally publish an individual file right up there, the current file there, and you don't have to worry about the workspace or anything else. It's just cleaner, simpler, more modern. These are files that you can move them between projects and stuff. It's very straightforward and easy to use. So desktop control panel, you can, I would avoid it, but if you do have them, you can migrate them to the new technology. But for anybody who's starting new or recently, just stick with the Web Projects Control Panel, the Reports section here, and you can just click a New right here, and you can create a report. And you can also create traditional letter layouts and labels, but report is where most people spend most of their time.
Excellent. Thank you. Another quick reporting question, but before we get that, just a couple other little ones I want to answer real quick. Someone's asking what the guides email address is, and it's simply guides, G-U-I-D-E-S, at alphasoftware.com. And I have a question here from someone asking what's the quickest way to get up to speed on the security system for a new application, and there are new alpha users. So just send me an email to guides, G-U-I-D-E-S, at alphasoftware.com. We only have like 9 minutes now. And well,
yeah, but let me show you how to do, actually, and
all right.
I did the webinar, so
you did the webinar. I was about to say we have a whole webinar by Dan, but
yeah, if you go to the video, is it in the video finder here? It's actually on. It may be. Let me see if it's on there. It was a webinar that we did.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's in here. No, that's one of the inside ones. But if you go to alphasoftware.com.
There's a couple.
And then you go to Resources Video Library. So again, Resources Video Library. And in here, it's just because I got all the screen sharing and everything going on here, so that's why it's slow. Normally it's lightning fast. Yeah. Okay. And let's see. And
the name of the webinar, by the way, I've just found it, is Security Framework How-To Webinar.
Yeah, and it really is for someone who's starting out.
Just watch that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. It is right here. So actually, let me see if I can just, yeah, so you could probably paste that in there. But this has really been as a general overview, just to kind of get you comfortable with how the web security works. There's a lot of other videos on here that you can then go in and check out a whole other things. Oops, I'll turn that on, pause that. But there's a lot of other great videos that also talk more details about the pieces. But I would start this one as kind of a top level, how to, security hasn't changed dramatically. It has changed in terms of IIS and stuff, but the basics are still pretty much so aligned with what there is. So it's fairly still relevant from that standpoint. But I'd start here. Once you see that one, then you can dive into the other videos to get even more details and then kind of go talk a little bit more about it. So that would be where I would start if I were setting up. And that was what the goal of this was, to kind of give that intro.
Yep.
How to was what our purpose of that one was for.
Excellent. Thank you. Couple report questions if you want to hop into the report editor. The first one,
yes, sir.
I'm not sure if we have this capability, and the question is, When you're in the report editor, can you zoom in on a particular area just so you have a little bit finer control?
Very good question. Let me go in the freeform report.
I've always just used the arrow buttons to tweak it a pixel or two one way or the other. I don't know if you've got a...
Yeah, there's not really view. No, it's all the other detail stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's like a zoom in and out. I don't really think so. I think it's, you know, it's sort of structured. I wonder if there is, no, not there. Freeform report. There's print, even though I had there and there. Yeah, I don't think there's really a way to zoom in to go from that standpoint. You do have the ability to modify kind of the density of these little marks on the screen. You can make some changes in terms of, like, you'll notice that this does some, it's doing automatic, like trying to do alignment. If you don't like that, you can turn that off, and then it's literally pixel by pixel changing. So you do have a lot of control in terms of the behavior of the report piece. But yeah, I haven't really seen anywhere we can see, yeah, let's see now, properties. Yeah, there's no real way to zoom into it from what I can tell. I could be wrong, but I don't know of any off the top.
I think so. So here is another question. Someone wants to print a report on a background that's 8.5 by 11. Can they do that? Can you print right onto a PDF image? Like if you wanted to have a background, let's say, which had a 1040 form, a tax form, and you wanted to place some fields right over the fields there.
I see what you're saying. I believe the report properties, let's see.
You can almost certainly set that background image in the details.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if we have it right up there. That's a good question. We might have to come back and answer that. That's a...
the answer is yes, it is doable. We may not be able to...
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do it just off the top of my head, but we can research and find out how you would use a... And I don't know if it'd be a PDF background. I think it would be an image background, like a PNG or something like that.
Yeah, you'll need to convert it to an image. I don't think it'll display a PDF.
No, it doesn't have an
just use
a
graphics program to switch that over. But I do recall an application that we did for a police department where they had very particular forms that needed to be filled out on the official form, and they wanted to take the data out of a database, fill out the forms. We've done it before. It looks great.
Here you go. Actually, this is how you do it.
Yep.
Yeah, if you go to the report header, or usually you may not, like report, it doesn't show up here. You can't do it, but you can go to a section. So let's say the details section. This is where you're going to actually display your fields here. Mm-hmm. You can click on the bar for detail. That selects this group here. Then you right-click on that and go to Properties, and you'll notice that, wait, was that the right one? No, wait. I'm sorry, yeah. This is the group here. This is actually saying, okay, what do I want to do for this group? So I'll click Detail here, and I'll go Properties. Then you'll notice that I could set a color background, so I could go like that. Or if I wanted to, I could literally go here and say use a bitmap, and then I could either absolute, and then I could do, I wonder if I have an embedded bitmap. Let's go ahead and do that. I like embedded because it includes it into the report. So let me go in here. Okay. Now if you'll notice, and I can go in here and literally align where I want that stuff to be, and then when I run it, it's going to look a little strange because it's going there, but it's in there. It's hard to see. I don't have there. Let's see what it is here. Let's go ahead and go back here and make some adjustments to that. Let's see. Oh, not absolute. Let's best fit it. Let's see what happens there. Yeah, you'll have to play with those settings a little bit.
Yep.
And you'll notice that now it's filling it up. If I want, I can take this. I'm going to do the properties there, or actually I'm just going to go up here to the text, and I'm going to make the text color be white, and then I'll make the text color of this be white too. And then let me go ahead and do a vision of it. And so you can see this could be a PNG of an IRS form or a form, and you could just line this up since it's pixel and set it, and then the report information, including any like bitmaps, like a signature, will show up in the right location. So real quick on that, as you go to the detail row right here, this it's the detail header, not the group header. This is the group header. This is detail. Right click on there and go properties, and then in here you can say use a I'll go none for the background color, and then click use bitmap. You can use an embedded image, which is what it's going to do is actually take this image and embed this in the report. So therefore I don't have to worry about an external image. But sometimes I want to use a file image or a library image, and so there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how you do it. And then you can play, the other thing you can play with it on here is that you could either do a best fit, you could do a stretch, and so you'll notice that it stretches it out to match the whole thing, which is most of the time, and then you can adjust it accordingly where you need your pieces to be, etc. And very easy. So as you can see, very, very powerful. You could do the same thing in the table layout report because you can do similar kind of scenarios, like I go here to properties, use the bitmap. But again, then you have to set up your grid, where in this case, and this is one of the powers of the new thing, so I can literally say I want it to be right there, and then I'm done. Whereas this, I'd have to go in here and say, okay, where would that be? A little harder to do. So that's one of the benefits of this new methodology, which you'll see next Thursday when you join us, or download it and play with it.
Well, we're out of time, but there's one question I feel bad that we didn't get to because the person who asked it is at a 12-hour time difference, and it's 1:30 in the morning their time.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm sorry we didn't get to it. I know this stayed up this late. But if you could send it into guides@alphasoftware.com, that would be great. The question has to do with how do I get data from SQL Server into a list box that I can use then offline as a pick list, and that's something that would be a great thing to show everybody.
Yes.
If you could send that question.
There's two methods. You can either list, or you can now use what's called client-side cache also. So
Yes.
we can talk about that.
We can.
And in fact, if you send into guides, we can send you some videos that show you that.
Yeah, we'll get those to you well before next week. If you send that email directly to us, we'll.
Yes. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Go to bed. Go to bed.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Dan, for presenting. A copy of this will be up at videos.alphasoftware.com in a couple of days. If you have any questions in the meantime, send your email to guides@alphasoftware.com. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you next week. Take care, and goodbye.